Alright guys, welcome back into another fantasy golf video. This week, unfortunately, we don't have a DraftKings or FanDuel PGA DFS event, so we have to switch over to the Euro side. I actually do kind of like that. We'll be touching on that, kind of going over the breakdown of the video today. Going to go over kind of just overall PGA DFS strategy, kind of think if we have to rework that or not, or stick to it. Kind of just touching on the season so far. Then we're going to give you the breakdown of the European DFS event. I'm going to mess up a few names here and there while we're doing it. But let's get into the strategy here. Well, and then we'll go into the regular course breakdown and core plays like we normally do for a typical PGA DFS event. But let's start off with the PGA DFS strategy. So far, as you guys know, my main strategy week to week is to target players that are going to make the cut and then build the lineup from there. And that's how I build my confidence rating. So how I start my week out, I factor in course history, I factor in current form, then I build my course fit model. That's how I make my player pool there. And then after that, I go through and make my confidence rating of who's going to make the cut. And then you build your lineup from there. And I really like doing this because, as you guys saw last week, 6 for 6 across the cut line really matters. And last week, I think I had about 15% of my lineups get 6 for 6. 20% of them get 5 for 5. A lot of them had 4 for 4. And then I had some really bad ones. I had a lot of East and West lineups last week. But the overall strategy of this is by targeting the most players are going to make the cut. You're going to make some really optimal lineups. Yes, you're going to make some bad ones. And yes, sometimes these cut makers like Charles Howell and Lucas Glover, last week they missed the cut. That's going to happen occasionally. But overall, long term, that's going to be a really successful strategy. And as you guys know, we have cashed in 11 out of 15 of our full tournament field events so far. And the reason I play full tournament field events is because, yes, there's going to be some volatility here. Golf, especially, you can have one bad shot that ruins a whole round. That's going to happen. But over the course of long term, you want to target golfers that are going to make the cut. You want to target those cut makers, especially in cash and in GPPs, because the more 6 for 6, the more players through the cut, the better. Obviously, you're going to occur points each and every week each and every round that way. Third and fourth round. That's why I really like that, and that's why I really like full tournament field events, because you can really gain an edge by targeting cut makers. A lot of people still haven't come around to that strategy. They like to target these high upside plays, which yes, in GPPs that's going to be good. But you're going to build a lot of bad lineups, and typically my cash lineup that I build will cash in GPPs. There's very rare times that it doesn't, because typically if you're building a cash lineup, it's going to be a good lineup no matter what. And that means it's going to be a good GPP lineup. So that's kind of how I like to do that. And my overall strategy, what I do with that is I build my cash lineup, build kind of my core, and then I build my cash lineup. Then I'll just mass enter that into a typical contest that I want to enter in. Maybe it's the $1, maybe it's the quarter, maybe it's the 20, maybe it's the 3. Each week it's kind of different. Depends on the event, depends on how I like that event. And then I'll go through and edit that player by player, making sure that I'm kind of just checking all the boxes in my player pool based on my ranking for that week, based on the percentage that I want to have them owned at that week. And I always post on the Patreon page kind of what I'm thinking about that week for percentage of ownership on my side of it. So that's kind of how I do that. Been very successful doing that. I'm going to continue to do that. And that is a really good strategy. But I do want to say, the reason why I don't like to play full tournament field events is because, let's look at the Masters. So that really wasn't a full tournament field event. I had Paul Casey in my cash lineup. It's still cashed in a couple of the 50-50 double-ups that I entered in. It didn't cash in the single-entry double-ups, but it's still cashed in the 50-50 double-ups. If that was a full tournament field event, having 5 out of 6 across the cut, like the stats, no matter what, told us to play Paul Casey. The stats said it was a good play. Course history said it was a good play. Current form said it was a good play. There's no reason not to play Paul Casey. That just happens sometimes in PGA DFS where some guy just doesn't have it that day. If you guys watched him that day, he was defeated. The look on his face, that first round of the Masters, he was just defeated, and I'm like, crap. Pretty much on the third hole, I'm like, he doesn't have it. It's not going to be a good round. Hopefully he can, stay around +4, maybe have a good day the next day. But that's kind of why you do it that way, is because, if that was a full tournament field event, that lineup would have guaranteed to cash in all those events. And, because sometimes the dad just says that, and sometimes they just don't make the cut. And that's going to happen. That's golf. That's PGA DFS. That just happens. But if you do that long term, you're going to be successful like we have. 11 out of 15 full tournament field events. Going back the last 3 years, I've cashed in 70% of my full tournament field events. This year, it's up to 75%. So each week's a little bit different of how many cash lineups I enter. So overall this year, my cash lineup has cashed in 80% of the lineup or contests that I've entered. So obviously some weeks I go really hard and we'll do, $5, $10, $25, $50 single entry, and then I'll do a bunch of 50-50 double ups based on the confidence rating for that lineup that week. So that's kind of how I do that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put those in the comment section below. But let's get into this week. It should be a pretty good week. I actually do like this. We have done really well in these small tournament field events where there's not that many entries. People can't really do a mass lineup generator builder. So that really helps us out because we can really gain an edge that way. Takes out some of people just like to mass enter lineups, and that kind of loses our edge. But because people can't really do that this week, we can really gain an edge and really be successful. Like we have kind of the last two events that were like this. The last two events that were like this, there was a WGC event the week before. So this was the smaller events only had like 9,000 entries for DraftKings. So it's like kind of their secondary event. And that's kind of what we have this week. The last two times we did this, we both had 2 times ago. It was a top 100 finish. Last time was a top 10 finish. And I know people, the last time we had a contest like this, a smaller event, not as many people playing it, not as many eyes focused on it. We had some of the Patreon subscribers actually take down some tournaments. So that's pretty nice. But let's get into this week. It should be a good one. Going to butcher some names here. It'll be fun. All right, so I do want to touch on the course breakdown a little bit first and kind of just the overall tournament. So obviously we don't really play European DFS that much. One of the reasons why is because it's really hard to get the stats for these tournaments. And it's just hard. It's hard to find them. And it's hard to go through and manipulate the stats the way that you want them. They don't have the ball striking. They don't have the total driving stats that we like to look at. So we kind of have to just go with the stats that they give us and go from there. So the 2 stats that we're looking at this week, according to pretty much the course history, the last few years that's played here, playing on the red course, is driving distance. It's really long. It's 7,600 feet plus. So it's really long. Kind of obviously depends where the tee boxes are. And then greens and regulation. Those have been the 2 main stats that have correlated to who's won and been successful at this event. We'll also look at strokes gained tee to green and strokes gained off the tee as well. So those are going to be some stats we're going to be looking at. Let's get into this week. All right, so this is the course that we're going to be playing at. I will be touching on the core place here in a second. I did mention, driving distance is going to really matter here. It does seem like a fun, easy course, but with European DFS, it does seem to be a little bit more random when players miss the cut. So that's kind of one thing I do worry about. But like I said, I do really think that we can get an edge this week just because not as many eyes are going to be focused on it. If people are going to be playing it, they're probably just going to be playing it for fun, not trying to win too much money. All right, we'll start off with the top end. Obviously, Joust Luton. Probably messed that up. I'm sorry that's going to happen in this video. He played really well at his last PGA DFS event. He's made 5 out of 6 cuts on the Euro Tour, 3 top 10 finishes, top ranked guy. He has 2 top 15 finishes here in the last 2 years. Not a bad option. I really like Jordan Smith, though. So Jordan Smith is top 50 in all the stats that we're looking at this week, which is really nice. That's a top 5 stat fit. He's made 2 cuts here, including a top 10 finish in the last 10 years. He's in really good current form, obviously, there, making 7 out of 7 cuts. So I really like him as a strong option. I also like Campillo. I messed that up. I'm sorry. But he also has 2 straight cuts made here. He's pretty much the same play as Jordan Smith there. He's a little bit worse total driver, but he's 73rd in driving distance on the European Tour. So that's not a bad option. He's in good current form. I really like starting my lineups out with both of those guys and then going from there. Fabrizio, maybe. 7 out of 8 cuts made. He's a really good stat fit. The only thing that lacks with him is his driving distance, but he's 12th in strokes gained to the green, so I like him. Victor here, he's going to be a solid play. He had a T4 finish here in 2017. He's one of the better stat fits according to my model. He is 19th in strokes gained off the tee, 30th in strokes gained to the green. So Julian Slurry, so he's made 10 out of 11 cuts on the PGA Tour. He's also made 3 out of 3 cuts on the European Tour. He hasn't played here in the last 4 years, but he is the best stat fit according to my model this week. So I really like Julian there. If you can fit him into your build, you should. Thomas Dentry is a guy that my eye keeps going towards, and I think that's because he has played on the PGA side a little bit. He had a T19 here finish here last year. He is top 10 in driving distance, so I do like him. He's made 7 out of 7 cuts. Lorenzo Vera here, he seems like more of a cash option. He has great course history, making 3 straight cuts here. He's one of the better stat fits according to my model this week. He's top 15 there. Obviously, he's priced up a little bit, so he has good course odds as well. So I do like him. Masahiro, I probably messed that up. He's a good stat fit, top 20 according to my model. 7 out of 10 cuts made. He hasn't played this course here in the last 4 years, but I do like him as an option this week. Maximilian here, he is going to be a strong option. T41 finish here last year. He missed the cut the year before that. He's a really good stat fit as well. He's top 20 according to my model. He is 20th in greens and regulation. Not a horrible play there for you. The next two, Benjamin there you can play. Paul you can play. Those guys, they kind of were catching my eye. You're going to be more GPP options. I can't even say this dude's name. I'm sorry, but he is the 3rd best stat fit according to my model this week. Obviously, he can really go off and pop. You look at his last tournament, he had an 80, then he came back and fired off at 68. So I'm not really too worried about that current form. Kind of just had one of those bad rounds and didn't make the cut. So I think he's going to be a great GPP option, maybe even a cash option. The Jason here as well, he's going to be a great option. 4 out of his 7 events have been top 10 finishes. He also has that missed cut in his last event. He had a missed cut here last year, but he also has a T10 at this field. He is also a top 5 stat fit according to my model this week. So I do really like him. A lot of these guys that I'm not pulling up on the player pool here, they're guys that I'm looking at. They're going to be more GPP guys. The guys that I'm pulling up on the screen are going to be guys that I'm really targeting, like Matthew Southgate. Now, he is catching my eye because I know he plays on the PGA Tour a little bit, but he has made 6 out of 7 cuts, and he has made 2 straight cuts here at this event. He's not the best stat fit, but I do like him. Cullum Shinkwin, maybe. Did we get it? I don't know. 5 out of 6 cuts made. He has 2 top 13 finishes here, including a missed cut. So 2 out of 3 times he's had a top 15 finish. He is also the best stat fit according to my model this week. I really like him top down. He's one of my favorite value plays, or with his price point, he's one of my favorite plays on the board, if not my favorite. I'm going to be having a lot of him in my builds this week. Dean there, he was a really popular option last year at this course, and he's still kind of popping stat-wise. He's a really good total driver, or driving distance, so I do like him. He does have decent course history as well, making 2 out of 3 cuts. Anton here, he's a great option this though. 4 out of 6 cuts made. He's the top 10 stat fit according to my model. He has made 1 out of 1 cut here at this course, so I don't mind him. And then the last one, Robert McIntyre. 9 out of 10 cuts made so far. He's made his 8 last cuts. He's a top 20 stat fit according to my model this week. At this price point, for a guy that's made that many cuts, I really like him as an option this week. But I'm not going to be posting a lineup here that can be found on the Patreon page because this is a smaller field event, and we lose some of the edge if we put that lineup out there. So let's say I put a lineup out here and it wins. I'm going to be splitting it with like 5 of you. I don't want that this week. I want to be able to take it down. But the lineup is available on the Patreon page for only $5 a month. You get there's only top 10 plays that I posted, but you also get kind of the GPP player pool, and then you also get a couple of GPP lineups as well. So you guys can look for that. It should be a good week. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. But first, real quick, because my boy's been struggling, we're going to have to put on the jersey here. That's right, UCLA, Russell Westbrook. He needs to go off and he needs to dominate tonight. He's been playing like a scrub. I don't like that. So he needs to go out, dominate. Let's support Westbrook tonight. Let's keep cashing. Let's have a good Euro week. Let's keep it fun. Let's keep it cashing. We'll get it back to you with the next week's tournament. It should be a better week next week. I am looking forward to that one. But this one's going to be fun. Let's treat it right. I will tell you right now how I'm entering the lineups in this week. I'm going to be using a lot of my DraftKings points that I have standing up, or crowns. I'm kind of just using that to enter in this week. So should be a good week. Should be a fun one. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. All right, that's all I have for you. Let's keep cashing.